Here we are. Welcome all to another Sudamerica Coaching webinar. Bienvenidos a todos a otro webinar de Sudamerica Coaching. Les recuerdo que ya tienen a Andrea esperándolos en la opción de intérprete. Welcome all. Apologies. We had a couple of minutes getting people to wait in the waiting room. Apologies for that. We're all up and running now with our guests, ready to go. This is our final, our sixth and final episode in this Leadership in Sports series of webinars. Absolute pleasure to welcome loads of you back within the six episodes of this series. Sorry, we've had over 1,673, and there's a couple more just coming through for all six episodes, which is absolutely fantastic. I need to thank first and foremost to all our guests, John Fletcher, Russell Henshaw, Sarah Kelleher, James Leith, all the way from America, and Mark Bennett. They were in our first five chapters, our first five episodes, and we got the grand finale today with our guests in her house. Giselle, how are you? It's a pleasure to welcome you here.
Thank you very much for having me.
Absolute pleasure. As I said, Director of Rugby, at Wasps Ladies. Lots of coaching under her belt for sure, and more recently, Head Coach of the Barbarians. How's that? First one ever, I should say.
That was an amazing experience, absolutely amazing experience. From a coaching perspective, bringing together a group of unbelievably talented players from across the world who didn't know each other, and then forming them into a team in 72 hours to play was, but under the barbarian spirit of jouer and the magic, was just an amazing experience and a huge privilege to be part of.
Wow. Sure. Lots of coaches on this call would have loved to just be a little fly on the wall over that weekend. Absolutely fantastic. Giselle, I'll tell you what, I'll start sharing my screen. We've got a lot of content to try to get through, and then we'll see if technology is on our side. Let's get this ball rolling here. Okay, here we go. I've done my best with the Spanish, so apologies in advance. Over to you, Giselle. The floor is yours.
Okay, so if you want to go to the next one. So defining team culture, I think that's important. So I'm going to share with you how I lead through culture. I am huge about the culture of a team and how people work together, how people treat each other on a daily basis. So that is one of my definitions, is how your athletes that you coach behave together and work towards a common goal, and how everybody treats each other on that day-to-day basis. It's driven by your values, your beliefs, and the attitudes of your team and you as the leader. And it gets built up over time. This isn't something that you can read a book and go out and you've got a great culture. This builds up over time, and it grows through, and as a result of shared experiences, enhanced self-awareness of both coach and athletes, and good, strong leadership. So those things are how I define culture, and we'll then move through as we carry on. Juan, if you take me through to next. So it is a huge topic, cultural leadership. So I just want to look at two specific areas that you can weave into your coaching practice. The first is raising individual self-awareness and how you do that, and generating shared team experiences, whether you have a huge budget or no budget at all. So, and you know, you can do all sorts of things if you've got thousands and thousands of pounds to spend, but if you haven't got money to spend, it doesn't stop you doing this. So if we go on to the next one. So when you create an activity and you're going to lead through culture, there's what I would call my cultural flowchart. So all the activities that you do, you don't just do an activity for the sake of the activity. It has to have a cultural purpose behind it. Then once you are engaged and are doing the activity pre, post, and in, and at the end of it is the questions that you ask, and how the learning that you draw out from the different experiences that you have. Different people will have experienced different things in that activity, and bringing that out raises awareness of everybody, of people's perceptions, of how things worked, of how people felt, of how some people made other people feel, which is hugely important for a good team to understand. The shared experiences and the challenges of the exercise make the learning stick. When learning sticks, behavior changes, and that's what culture is all about. You're trying as a leader to make the behavior of the people move your team, and both as individuals and as team, forward. If that behavior is changing, people feel valued, they enjoy being involved, and then performance automatically enhances on the field. So that to me is the flow chart. And now I'm going to share with you some examples of things that we've done. So the first thing is, this exercise was all about jigsaw puzzles. The first thing that I did was I put the players together, and they had, I gave them just a plastic bag full of a load of pieces, and split the girls into several different teams. They didn't choose who they went with. I put them into teams, so they're working with people that they don't always work with, and they had no picture to go from, nothing. And it was just, it's a competition, and you've got 20 minutes to put this puzzle together, and away we went. No, not one team succeeded in the 20 minutes to build the jigsaw puzzle complete, not one team. But we then discussed it. We looked at what the cultural purpose of this was, and that was that you need roles and responsibilities and the execution in a team of those roles to be a good team. So, and why a team needs a framework to play from. So if you look at that, if you got a jigsaw puzzle and you say, right, you and you on this team are getting all the side pieces. You're getting all the pieces that are in green. You're getting all the pieces that are in black. You're getting all those. And then if we find all that, then we've got a shape and a structure to start to work to. If you listen to people, if you put a leader in charge of your team and they tell you what you're going to do, and you operate your level at the best you possibly can, you will make progress. Every team but one on the second go smashed it and got their puzzle done in the 20-minute period of time when they put that leadership in. So the learning from this was massive. And there's just a little clip for you to look at of the players.
Just a quick one before we move on, Giselle, if you don't mind. James wants to know if every group had the same puzzle or not.
No, all different. But what I did do was make the puzzles relevant to them. So as they started doing it, they could see teammates' faces on there. So they were all things I got the puzzles made to look, of pictures of things of players doing things. Okay. So they began to it, but no, every puzzle was different.
Good stuff. He's loving it already.
Okay,
so we're going to press sound.
If you just click on that.
Yeah, I don't think it'll play. No. Do you want to share yours, or do you want to tell us about it? Or?
Well, let me just press. So the only way we can do this. So it's not even good. If you just press in the middle of that thing, it should start playing.
You won't let me.
So you're going to have to stop sharing your screen for me to share mine, because these exercises makes it real. Okay. Let me just find where we are. Is it opening up? Can you see that? Have you got my screen on?
Not yet.
Okay, hold on. So now, let me go back. Sorry, everybody. Technical. To the Zoom. I can't get anything up now at all. If I can move on to the, it's not bringing anything up.
Don't upset it. Don't upset it.
I know. I'm trying to get you to make the whole thing. That's it. Right, here we go. Share screen. Can you see that?
Not yet. Not yet.
I don't know why it's not sharing. Sorry, this is where. Share screen, share. Oh, there we go. Click, share. Is that better?
Yeah, we're on.
Right, you've got it. Okay, let me just whiz through. And then I know you'll want to go back. So here we go. We should get progress now.
Really getting into it.
Absolutely. They're very, very engaged.
How many pieces out of interest?
It was 200.
Cool. Great stuff.
So there you can see very, very engaged in the activity and lots of groups working together, a lot of noise, a lot of really competing because they're competitive animals, and the learning that we got out of how important it is to have people listening, people with roles and responsibilities, things like that was huge. If I show you the next couple, if I stay with my screen for a minute, Juan, because then...
Yeah, that's fine, that's fine.
So this one was about not breaking the chain. Mm-hmm. So if you look at this picture, you can see the paper chains across the top of our team room. They're in our team colours, so they're in black and gold. On the gold ones, every single player had a link and they wrote their season's goals for that particular season on their yellow sheet, piece of paper, and then link them together. So a player cannot, if a player wants to say be selected for England that year, they can't be selected for England without their teammates performing too. It's all, they need to understand that they are all part of one big chain. And the cultural purposes behind this task was adherence to training, and also about only being as strong as our weakest link, and that if we can't practice as a group if somebody is missing from training. And that's a big thing. So if you're throwing into the line out and your hooker's not there, well, the jumpers and the lifters can't get their timings right because they're not working with the person they're going to work with at the weekend. So it was trying to raise that with the players, and to make that learning stick, we did the paper chains that I've just shown you. Then we had these carabiners that I gave to if you see there, the carabiners, every single player had a carabiner. Every time they came to training, they had to clip it onto a line of carabiners. We had a hook that you hook it on, and the longer the carabiner trail, the better the session we were going to have because more players were there. And then on our pre-season tour, I made the players, 46 people, including the staff, had to get up on the bus at 4 o'clock in the morning. We were in the Alps. We drove to the bottom of the mountain. I had a long rope and everybody was tied to that rope. So they were in pairs. So the rope's down the middle and everyone is tied to the rope. And we had to walk up the mountain in the dark. And it was not an easy walk by any means to the top to see the sunrise, all chained together. Okay. Which again, anchors the learning about the chain. And I'll show you here a little bit.
Christ. Health and safety, don't report us.
Exactly. There were moments.
Wow.
So you can see the rope down the middle and all the players are tied to it around their wrist and then onto the rope. So that was another exercise in order that, and for the whole season on all our social media and all of that, hashtag don't break the chain. If a player didn't turn up for training, I didn't have to say much. I just text them saying hashtag don't break the chain. And they totally got that they were letting the side down. So these kind of experiences make my life as a coach, when I'm having to call people out for not doing the right behaviors, so much easier because we all have this shared experience. So this next one was quite a big one, and there were several cultural purposes in it. So we were on a tour in Montpellier. Our pre-season tour this year was in Montpellier, and we arrived in Montpellier on Sunday, and load of beach games, etc. And then on the Monday, we canoed down a gorge for 6 hours in the sunshine. It was fabulous, but the players were tired. On the bus on the way back, they thought that they were going back to the hotel for a shower and something to eat. What happened for them was that I got my analyst to drop 2 videos onto every player's phone. The first video was Michael Jackson's Thriller, the dance being performed, and the second video was how to perform Michael Jackson's Thriller. Then I stood up in front of the bus and I said, you have to perform that dance as a whole squad on Wednesday evening in Comedy Square in Montpellier, which in London is the same as Covent Garden, okay? Now, you can imagine the players just looked at me like, really? And someone said, do we have to? And someone said, don't even ask her, because you know what the answer is going to be. So the cultural purposes behind the task, first of all, it was a totally player-led activity. I never spoke again after giving them the activity, all right? It's for them to organize, them to sort out, them to do the processes. So all of that was a completely player-led activity. The second one was most of them went, well, I can't dance. So they're way out of their comfort zone because they can't dance. There's 1 or 2 that could, but not many of them could dance. It was a performance-based task. So they had to get up and perform in a square. So obviously every time we take to the field on match day, we're performing. And you've got to take a role. And in coaching female athletes, sometimes the aggression side of the game is really hard to get out of them, and they have to get themselves into a performance base to be aggressive. So on this task, to do the task properly, you have to be a zombie. You have to be no facial expressions, no anything, and get into the part of being this dead body dancing, basically. So that was there. There was a time pressure to problem solve. So I don't give them an agenda when we go on tour. They just get told where they got to be, what they need, and then they get hit with it, so that we have this chaos and confusion going all the time, and they learn to cope with things happening on the moment. So they don't get an agenda. So they didn't know when I was going to let them, when they would have time to practice. So whenever there was a quiet moment, they'd all get together and start practicing, because they didn't know if they were going to get another quiet moment. So there was the practice had to be really focused, not a wasted time. They were preparing and performing under massive fatigue. So the first time when they heard this, they 6 hours canoeing. The day they performed it on the Wednesday, we'd already done 2 2-hour rugby sessions ready to play Montpellier that following evening. So they were very, very tired, and we performed it at 10 o'clock at night. Massive thing on roles and responsibilities, and my captain, all credit to her, after this news had hit them and they sat on the bus for 5 minutes in complete silence, she got up, went to the front of the bus and started saying, right, who can dance? Right, you're going to lead. Who knows this? Who can do this? And she started to form a structure behind what was going to happen. They have to learn the routine and properly learn it. You can't, so learning line out. My lot, they forget the line out calls. Oh my God. Well, if you forget your dance moves in this, you're going to look stupid because you're going left and they're going right, and it just doesn't work. So they needed to learn and execute under pressure. They're all in it together, and believe it or not, it is a lot of fun. Some of them may query that, but on the whole, it's a lot of fun. It's a huge shared experience that they're having, and that makes the learning stick. And then we allowed eating time after the exercise so that they could all sit and eat together and discuss it and anchor the experience. So this will show you the picture beforehand, and you can see the effort that they've put into the costumes. That shows you athletes that are engaged in the process. So I had said to them before we left that they needed to bring a Halloween costume, and they thought that was going to be for so fancy dress night out. They didn't for 1 second believe it was going to be this. So they've got genuine buy-in and huge fatigue at this stage. So this is one of the practices.
You even got Michael to join in.
So that's just an early practice as they're organising it. It's not coach driven. As you can see, it's a player up at the front. It's all of them there. You can see, as you freeze it, the enjoyment that they've actually nailed the first part of the dance. So it goes on from there. And I'm just going to show you a 20-second clip of them actually delivering on the task. So as you can see, there are a load of the cultural values that I had for you at the beginning of that, the cultural purposes, that came back into our performance on the field. So players working together, players taking control of situations, focused practice, having to learn stuff. So if a player came and had forgotten the line out, we just look at them and go, thriller dance. And they're like, ugh, because they know that they didn't prepare in the way that they should. All these little things culturally have bonded that group of players so much tighter, because to stand up and do that, and you can see all those people, we didn't know any of those people. They were, you know, they didn't know anyone, and they suddenly had to get up and do that. And that's putting you out of your comfort zone. So then playing in front of 1,000 people, 5,000 people, whatever, it's not a drama, is it? Because you're now more in your comfort zone because they are rugby players. So that was an issue from there. Now, those exercises obviously are more financial input, and you can see various other things that we did while we were out there, but there is obviously a financial input. Here, I'll just show you a little video of this. These are things that the players got challenged with, and some players were comfortable with this, some players so not comfortable with this. And on the tour, there's always something where you find that player that is like, oh my God, this is what really makes me feel this way, and then just going for it and just being involved. Jumping off of there, that's a height, a real height, and they don't know what's underneath the water. So there's a fear factor, but all of them cheering each other on, all involved, all massive cultural experiences to bond them to together as a side. And that, as you hear the person who's watching it saying, they all want to do it, all egging each other on to push themselves to a further and a higher level.
Did the coaching staff get involved?
Absolutely. Now that's a very, very big thing. You can't ask players to do this stuff without doing it yourself. I couldn't do the thriller dance because that was a player-led activity, but I had to jump off that rock too, yeah, which was quite an interesting challenge. But yeah, you can't ask players to do things if you're not prepared to do them yourself. Okay, so those things obviously cost a bit of money, but then there's other things that don't cost money.
Should we, sorry, Giselle to interrupt, should we go back to mine that we finished with the videos? Is that all right?
Yeah, so I stop share.
Thank you.
Yeah, go for
There we are.
Okay, so with this one, it doesn't cost any money at all. Okay, so every Christmas Day, on Christmas Day, I ask my players to do a 5K run. What they have to do is go out, get it done, and then post a picture on our WhatsApp group to say that they've done it. And that's our way of wishing each of us a happy Christmas. The cultural purpose behind it is being an athlete is an everyday thing. If you want to be the best you can be and you want to play at the highest level you can play at, you can't, do stuff for 5 minutes and then go off and do something else and come back to it. It's an everyday thing. So that's the first thing. The second is getting ahead of your competition. Finding ways to be better than your competition. Well, not many people go training on Christmas Day. We do. Therefore, it gives you that confidence and that feeling that you are, and knowing your teammates are doing it too, moves you as a group ahead. And then there's that connection on a special day of saying to everyone, yeah, Merry Christmas. So if you look at the next one, you'll see that that's all the players. Now, some of them did it with their families. Some of them went with the dog. Some of them if you see the one with the athlete on her hands on the beach, she's actually in New Zealand there, and she is a Kiwi. The year before, she spent Christmas in London, and when I asked them to do it that year, she ran in her budgie smugglers through Trafalgar Square and down the embankment and all of those things. And so she promised that she'd do it again in New Zealand that way. So she ran on the beach, but then went up on her hands to send the photograph. But you can see the buy-in that we've got, people doing it with their families and what have you. But that's a cultural thing that binds the team together and shows that the athletes are it's an everyday thing. Mm-hmm. So that was that one. Next one. So again, minimal cost to these activities, if or zero cost. So you can see all the players sat in Trafalgar Square on the Lions. We went out for a day in London. The only cost it was the travel card to go around on the tube. We planned a route, and it's getting to know the city that they represent, because we are a London club, and it's getting to know the city they represent. And we had, getting to know each other. When we were walking through the city, every 10 minutes they had to go and walk with somebody else and find out 5 things about that person that they didn't know before. So you get that deeper knowledge of your teammate. If you look at the one at the bottom that says the other side of me, that is an exercise where they have to stand up and talk to their teammates for 2 minutes about the life they have outside of rugby, because we all know each other as rugby players, but they don't know each other, what work they do. They're not so aware of the jobs that each other have, of what the important people in their lives are, of how they spend their spare time. So we do a big series on the other side of me. Eating together, massive opportunity to just relax together, get to know your teammates better. So you've got that one there. The picture on the right is the pancake day. We do supper together once a month at club. We can't afford to feed the players every single night after training. We haven't got the finance to do that. But what we do is once a month after training, we all sit down together and we have supper together, and we give out awards for that particular month of the trainers of the night and all that sort of stuff. So again, celebrating things that are positive, which generally gives a feel. We had a sleepover at the club, which is that picture on the left. Doesn't cost anything, but obviously various activities that we did during that. They were bell ringing during it. They were doing all sorts of different things, which again bonds teams together. The one at the top right is a load of board games, dartboards, and competitions that way. But it's always that the team bonds and gets together and makes the experience of being a team so much easier for the players and for myself and my coaching team to manage. Okay, to the next one. So here is, after we played Montpellier, is what I call drawing out the learning. Now we all do this. After games, we meet, we huddle up, we do whatever. And after every one of these activities, you have to have this learning opportunity. You have to find out what people thought, now these players performed at Comedy Square the night before. They'd been training, the amount of activities, I didn't give them any downtime. They were exhausted. And what I wanted, and it was deliberate, what I wanted them to do is to know that they can perform when they don't feel great. They were sensational. Montpellier are the best French team as a club, and we drew 12-all with them when the first teams played against each other. Fantastic, considering the fact of how tired they actually were and all the other things they did. So drawing that learning out and making sure that every experience, every activity, every training session, at the end of every training session, we have a player of the night, and each coach picks their player of the night and gives the reason why. So you're constantly reinforcing the positive behavior, and both the captains of the first team and the second team also pick someone. So you've got player input, coaching input, instant feedback, and drawing constantly on the behaviors that you've witnessed that you want to celebrate. So that's another one. On to the next. So the question at the end of that, does a strong team culture affect performance? In my mind, absolutely, unquestionably. It gives good culture, gives strong direction and clarity of purpose to the players, so it puts you on the right direction. It allows them to feel valued and appreciated. It breeds confidence and motivation to give your best. And if you see there, you've got the team joined together, and then you've got Superman standing next to them. And that's how it makes you feel. If your culture is good and your teammates are side by side, you're prepared to take risks, you're prepared to learn, you're prepared to get things wrong in front of people in order that you then can put it right. And that whole cultural thing of improving you as a person and having that massive safe learning environment is because of a good culture. It makes people want to be there and to be part of what's going on. And that's invaluable. You know, they want to come regardless of what's going on in their lives. They want to be there. The next one. Team culture being shared experiences. It allows the people to grow as human beings by raising their personal awareness, their self-awareness of the feelings they had. When you're jumping off a rock like that, what feelings did you have? You know, how did you conquer that? What got you off it? And some people go, because my teammates did it, so I had to do it. Some people go, someone shouted at me. Somebody said to others, shut up, you lot, don't say anything or I will never jump. So everyone had to be quiet. And we learned about her. When she said that, we learned that by shouting at her and telling her to do stuff was just the wrong thing to do. Just give her the space and she will get the job done. So, you know, there's lots of different things along there. It allows team messaging and gives genuine clarity about what you're trying to do. So hashtag don't break the chain. It's sometimes all I had to say. And everyone's like, oh, right, yeah, we get it straight away. So that helps. It significantly, and this one I will never be argued with about this one, it significantly deepens the bonds between teammates, which really helps when the going gets tough in competition. So, you know, you can see 2 tries in the first 8 minutes. You need strong bonds to get everyone to go, right, we don't need to panic, we just get our act together again, we start again. And the stronger the bonds, the more they'll cope with that. And I love that picture of the 3 little lads, you know, off to practice, working together. They love being together and they'll do anything for each other on that pitch. And that, I think that image is awesome for that deep bond between teammates. If we go to the next one. Juan, if you can move me to the next one. Oh, you have, right. So this one, raising individual and group awareness. It raises standards because the bar gets set very high. So players put more effort in, they get more out of everything they do. And the expectations I can put on them rise and rise and rise. Players cope significantly better with pressure because they've had, you know, again, I go back to jumping off a rock, dancing in Comedy Square. That's pressure, you know, when you, gosh, am I going to be able to do this? Is everyone going to laugh at me? What the hell's going to happen? You know, it helps them individually and collectively with that. It makes team life so much more fun. And when you're enjoying what you do, performance rockets. You know, if you've got a smile on your face and you're performing, you're coping with pressure, you're coping with what's being handed at you and you're delivering. So that for me is a massive. We go to the next one. This one is quite a big thing. Culture, leadership, it's a 24/7, 365 thing. It has to be embedded in what you do. You can't be all positive one moment and a moment a bit of pressure comes on, you start screaming and shouting at people. It just doesn't work. You have to stick by the cultural values that you're trying to impose. Yeah, we all make mistakes, but you have to sort of go, no, hang on a minute, that was culturally wrong, and you can put yourself right with it, but you've got to really stick with what you're trying to do and live it. It demands a vision around what behaviors are required, and it also needs a big bit of creativity. So those exercises I have to really think about, I have to create, I have to find a way to get out of people what the purpose is, the cultural purpose. I start with, I want my players to show these behaviors. Okay, how do I get my players to show these behaviors? What exercises could I do to create that? And so there's a fair bit of creativity. Constant positive reinforcement when you see things that you like and you see the behaviors that you like. If we can go to the next one. Okay, I've got a little task for you to finish with that I'd like you to do. It'll only take a minute or so. I want you to pick a letter from the alphabet, the first one that comes into your head. And then what I want you to do is to write 4 words that start with that letter that describe you as a coach. So this is a self-awareness task, and it's to help give you, so my cultural purpose is to raise your self-awareness about yourself and to give you clarity around your coaching philosophy. So the letter you picked is the letter you got to stick with. 4 words that describe you as a coach, and I'm going to give you a minute to do it.
Definitely harder than what I thought it was going to be.
Absolutely. 30 seconds. Time pressure. Got to deliver under time pressure. Someone smashed it. Whoever's that is that's come up on the chat, we'd lovely to have you to share yours, if you're happy to.
There's a few coming through now.
Here we go. Willingness, wondering, wanting, works hard. Love that. Thank you, Wendy. Anyone else want to share?
If you want to share in Spanish, I'll translate them.
Go
So
for it.
Eddie says enthusiasm, effort, ethics, edification, I guess.
Love that.
Alejandro says friendship, being able to make friends. There's a few coming through in English. Alex says taking risks, friendship again, respect, responsibility, resilience, rational.
Brilliant. So just by having a letter starts to get you to think about yourself instantly. And you had to pick the letter first and then not change it. So if you picked a hard letter, that's like really tough. But you then got time pressure to deliver. You've then got all of these words that go. And as I've already said, you can't do something unless you're prepared to do it yourself. So if you can give me the next slide. So there's mine. So I went CDE just to give you some examples. So I am a challenger. I'm competitive, but I'm creative and compassionate. Direct, decisive, can be difficult, and determined. I have a lot of energy. I'm enthusiastic. I'm emotional. I'm empathic. Okay. So the question I then put there for you is, how do you make that learning that you've just done about yourself stick? So rather than me tell you how that is, how does that letter and those 4 words, okay, that is what you said, who you are. Do they come out in every one of your coaching sessions, those 4 behaviors that you've just said of yourself? Think back, maybe to help it stick, think back to how one of your last coaching sessions, or one where you're going to coach when next time you're out there, to show all 4 of those behaviors, and that would make those learnings stick. So that's just a little task at the end that's completely cultural, that costs nothing, that takes 2 minutes, but raises people's self-awareness. There we go.
Love it, love it. Thank you so much for that insight, Giselle. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. There's a number of questions coming through. I'm going to try to make my best in this sort of 15 minutes that we got left to try to go through them. I'm going to bring James on.
Why did I pick K? That's brilliant.
I'm going to bring James on quickly because he's got a fair point around trying to translate your pro, semi-pro environment to a grassroots. James, if you're there and you want to jump on the conversation, that'd be great.
Hi, Giselle. Hi.
Hi, James.
Yeah, just working in an amateur sports club, it's always difficult with female athletes about the demands of their time from a training point of view. Are there any examples that you could give that could allow a culture-driven environment to have a high number of people attending training and have that continued? I love the fact that you did the supper once a month and do the awards to try and keep buy-in. But any other methods that you would use?
I think you've got to find ways that. What age are your athletes?
Oh, they are 16 through to 50.
Right. Okay. So it's finding things that connect for the group that are struggling to come. So I would probably imagine that the buy-in with your sort of mid-20s is pretty strong, because they've made the choice. They're organising their lives better. Your youngsters will be hot and cold, and your older ones as well will have things that sometimes pull them away. I think the connection that they've got to their sport will bring them to the actual thing, but it's what you're doing then around it. So yeah, the supper together is one way, but having a way of rewarding attendance, of maybe something at the very beginning of the session is the most fun thing to do. So getting them there on time, and literally starting the session with something that everybody loves to do. And the engagement of maybe letting them know, I don't know if you run WhatsApp groups or whatever, but just saying, right, the session is starting at this time and this is what we're doing, and it will only take 10 minutes, and we're not doing it again after 10 minutes. Or ways to engage the youngsters to connect in things they like to do. So asking them, what is it that you would love to have happen for you as an individual, around, forget the rugby, not about rugby, what would make you enjoy being at this first 10 minutes of the session, but making that powerful, making that exciting. But it starts bang on when you say it's going to start, and it ends there. And so latecomers don't get it, they don't get involved. Little things like that. Time away from the club together socially, absolutely invaluable. And as you see, a lot of those things, like I'm not sure where you're coaching, but literally that walk around London was amazing. Cost us nothing other than the cost of the ticket to go on the tubes. I had to plan the route and not let it be random, because otherwise it would. But we got photographs in front of major icons. I took them to places. We went down to a flower market that was just bonkers, this place, but they'd never been and never experienced it. They loved it. So it's just giving them different experiences, like the bell ringing I spoke about. I bought all these little bells and I put this there. They thought I'd gone mad, but the concentration that they then had, as they all had to ring a bell at the right time, fabulous fun. And they're doing it, connecting with each other without realizing, because they're having fun. They're being a kid again, basically. Have you seen those Simon games, where the memory games?
Oh yeah,
yeah. Masses of those in cognitive training to get them to pass a ball and still watch a sequence on the floor. So, and you know what? Sometimes I do things that don't connect so well, but you've got to be brave as a coach and go with it. And if they love it, play with it. If they don't, it's like, right, that one didn't work. Okay, next one. So, and it's not to give up on it, and to let them know that the first 10 minutes of every session will be something completely different, or the last 10 minutes, whatever it may be, or the middle 10, you choose, but you have a 10-minute slot that's not necessarily rugby based, where we do something called speed feedback. That's a lot of fun as well, where we have 2 sets of chairs opposite each other. They sit all the way down. This group never move. They just sit there. They have 30 seconds where this player tells this player things they love about what they do. And then you've got 10 seconds to write down what they told you. And then that player gives this player 30 seconds of what they love. And then you can leave it at that if you want to. Or what I then do is the next 30 seconds when they come back is, this is what I wish you'd do better. Brilliant. And you get no right of reply. You can't go, oh, the reason I do that. So somebody might say, you don't ever come on time on a Tuesday. It drives me mad. Yeah. And I can't go, oh, that's because I'm this. No, I'm not interested. I've just got 30 seconds to tell you what my issue is, and I wish you could do it better, and it will make our team better. Then that person gets the right to tell that person, after that time, this lot stay still, that lot all get up, move 1 chair down, and you go again. And you do it for as long as how many pieces of feedback. I tell you what, it's so powerful. Peer-to-peer feedback, positives and work-ons.
Fantastic. Thanks, James. Thanks for coming on board, James. I've got to sit here for 1 sec. The word that keeps coming to my head is intentionality around everything. So I'm going to have a guess you are a bit of a planner. Am I right?
Yes, but not necessarily in the way that you like. Like, I'm not. I make loads. I scribble an A3 piece of paper, flying about all over the place on it when I'm creative. I have moments where my creativity is just as flat and it just doesn't work. And, the more that it comes to the deadline of me delivering, the more I become more creative under pressure. That's just how I work, but it doesn't necessarily. But yeah, I think a lot and I use resources. So I was just during this lockdown and being a bit Spanish, money heist.
Yeah.
La Casa de Papel. Oh my God.
Nice pronunciation.
I've loved it. I've absolutely loved it. Now, I don't know whether you love it or you don't. I've absolutely loved it. But when I watch it, I don't watch it and relax. I'm watching it and I can't help but think how teams work together. So that group of people that robbed the bank, all of them, the city people, the names, the speech in the start of the 3rd series in episode 1 that the professor makes to make that group of people come back. So they're all sat around the table having supper. And he's called them all in from all their safe houses around the world in order to rescue Rio. And the speech he makes to give them the why they need to do something, everything. I was just like this. Oh my God, that's the most amazing leadership speech I've ever heard. If you've watched it, you'll know what I'm talking about. If not, go back to series 3, episode 1. It's about 20 minutes in. It is bonkersly good. And when I'm relaxing, I still my little brain. That's just how my brain works. So I was looking at thinking, right, how can I do this? How this? And then how those group of people as a team work together, how the police as a group of team work together, how all the things that are happening, I'm like, wow. And that's unfortunately how my brain works. So that's my planning. Things like that happen in that way. I don't sit down at a desk and go, right, blah, blah, blah. It just doesn't work like that for me. But everybody does it in a different way.
Awesome. Wendy is going to lead up a hockey camp with some youngsters. She says she's going to steal a lot of ideas. I'm going to bring on another hockey coach, Holly. She's got a point around coaching strategies. I'm just going to open her mic now. Holly, there, how are you?
Yeah, hi everyone. I've just got a question about difficult conversations and dealing with difficult people. So for me and my job, going into a meeting where you've got some difficult characters, what strategies do you use so they can get that buy-in that you want?
It's a really, really good question. Nice to meet you, Holly. The issue for me is courageous. I call them courageous conversations. If you don't have that courageous conversation, the problem gets worse and gets worse and gets worse and does not go away. And then all of a sudden it goes, poof, and you've got a volcano on your hands. It's difficult, but the moment the behaviors that are being exhibited are wrong for you as the coach, or sometimes they happen and they're out of character, right? The person that's doing it, it's out. So then it's not a big deal. You pull them aside and just go, what's going on? What's wrong? And then blah, 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 out it comes and you get sorted. But the kind of character I think you're talking about, I have someone in my team who I've worked through with, and she's fantastic now, but I had to confront the behaviors that she was exhibiting because without, and one-to-one doesn't have to be, you don't do it to embarrass in a group. It's one-to-one. First off, you talk about, because the culture that you're setting up, if you lead through culture, it's against what you're trying to achieve. So you may have the hashtags, you may have an exercise that you did that just says, look, after that we were all buzzing. Well, this is completely opposite to what we said we wanted to do. So you've got reference points to go back to saying this behavior is out, or even raising that individual's self-awareness is a big thing, because half the time they don't realize that they're being difficult, or they don't realize how they've made you or another member of the team feel. So it's then about saying to them, how did you feel when you said that? So you get from them, and then how do you think the person that you said it to felt? And all of a sudden there's this like, well, I didn't mean them to feel that way. Well, they do feel that way. Now, if they feel that way, how do you think they're going to feel on Saturday when we compete? Are they going to want to help you? Are they going to protect you in the same way? Are they going to be on your shoulder when you need them? Maybe not. Whereas if you can, and then it's just getting them to look at it from themselves. And the next time, if you catch them doing the behaviors, you can agree with them. I have certain anchor words with various players where somebody does something, I'll just say the anchor word. So if it's red, I just go, red. And they go, oh my God, I'm doing that behavior now. You know, and it's little things. So none of the rest of the team know. They don't know that. I have some players, particularly in my male group, where I use their middle name with them. The rest of the team don't know their middle name. So say their name's Stuart John Smith, right? I would suddenly call them John, because that was the person that was now appearing that wasn't helpful. And they'd go, and everyone else is going, John, we haven't got John on the team. John, Stuart John, is going, get it? So it's little tricks that you use that raise that player's self-awareness at any given moment. And it takes time to set up, and you can't just do it if you've got no trust, or you suddenly go flying off the handle at whatever, or you speak rudely to people. People are just going to go, well, I don't care. But if you go around with a cultural lead where you're trying to give players opportunities to grow, trying to give people the opportunities to learn, and self-awareness, team awareness, you have to know your teammates as well as yourself. I need to know that one of my teammates finds something really stressful. you know, jumping off that rock, the teammate that went, "Can you all stop shouting at me?" Well, everyone's going, "Go on, Ray," thinking they're being really helpful. It wasn't helpful for that person at all. And they kept stepping back. They couldn't, as soon as we all shut up, whew, off they went. Massive learning for us as a squad. And since then, we've been much more helpful with that player in how to get the best for that player. Does that help?
Yeah, really helpful. Thank you.
Cheers, Halls. Good to see you. We're drawing to an end. Unfortunately, I don't know where the last hour has gone. So much information. I've got loads of numbers.
Sorry.
And now the opposite. I'm really grateful. I'll tell you what, Giselle, if it's okay with you, I'm gonna save this chat because there's about 25 questions that we didn't get anywhere near to it, and then we'll sort something out that we can do in the near future to try to answer some of these queries. Just before you leave us, do you want to share any social media, any way to try to connect or anything like that?
For me,
Yeah.
my Twitter, I don't do Instagram, I'm afraid. I know I should. My younger players tell me off all the time that I've got to get with the beat and do the Instagram thing. But I'm at Twitter, I'm at Giselle M18.
Fantastic.
That's
and again,
it's GISELLE, capital M, 18.
Brilliant. And again, if you're watching this on the YouTube channel, on the Sudamerica Coaching YouTube channel, then Giselle's details will be at the bottom here on the notes. Before I leave you with your words of wisdom to close it all up, I just want to thank the 109 people that connected to the call. Lots of people watching on Instagram as well, and I'm sure there'll be lots of views on YouTube in the future. Thank you so much for everybody for joining us. Again, over 1,600 people join and register for the series, for the 6 episodes, which is fantastic. Thanks again for everyone that's been on as a guest, as a participant. I've tried my very best to try to get as many of you to connect with these gurus around coaching and leadership. Thank you so much. Stay connected through the social media, at Sud Coaching on Twitter and Instagram, Sudamerica Coaching in LinkedIn and Facebook. Any queries, just send us a direct message. My personal email is j.gonzalez.mendia@sudamericacoaching.com. That is probably the longest email in history, but anyway, I'll put it on the chat now so you can have it as well. But Giselle, you can close it all up, and then I'll be opening all the mics for people around the world to be able to thank you personally.
Well, I just want to wish you all best of luck with your coaching journey. Enjoy every minute of it, and thank you for giving me the privilege to talk to you all. Thank you. There's
people clapping. There's lots of things going on. Thank you so much. Giselle is now listening to you all. See you next time. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you.
Thanks
a lot.
very much.
Take care, guys.